Am I the a-hole for not wanting my ML to be in the hospital room when I give birth to my daughter? I, 22F, am due to give birth to my husband, 28M, and I's daughter in about 2 weeks. A few days ago, we were discussing birth plans, and the topic of who will be in the room came up. He said exactly this: your mom, your sister probably, Ava, my best friend, and obviously my mom will be in the room, correct? This caught me off guard since we had spoken about it at an earlier time. But I just corrected him because I thought he might have forgotten. So I said, actually, I would prefer it if she wasn't in the room during the birth, but I don't mind if she comes in to visit before the birth and after the birth. He immediately got upset and said, so you get to have family in the room, but I don't? It's my baby too. I explained again that any of his family are more than welcome to visit before and after the birth, but I'd prefer not to be spread eagle in front of his family. I especially don't feel comfortable with his mom being there at all because she had shamed me and judged me during my entire pregnancy, but I was willing to compromise so he doesn't feel like he can't have any family there. He still wasn't listening to me and started to get mad and yell at me. He was really set on the fact that it's his baby too, which I already know, but like I said, I just don't want them there during the birth. I don't mind before and after. He still is upset about this and has been avoiding me since this argument and will only talk to me in the morning when I make us breakfast. I'm afraid of when I have the baby that he won't accept my wishes and still let her in the room, or worse, he just won't show up at all. AITH for this? Not the a-hole, and when my BIL did this to my sister, she flat out told him, I do not want your whole family in there looking at my vagina. The word vagina snapped him back to reality. In fact, he also did not want his whole family in there looking at her vagina. He just hadn't realized what giving birth actually entailed. That was the point where it got real. You could see it in his eyes. Anyway, definitely NTA. Make it clear you're not interested in giving everyone a free show. Edited a word.
That's awesome that he immediately snapped back into reality. I've heard of situations where even when the pregnant woman is graphically describing to her husband exactly what's going to be happening to her vagina and why she doesn't want literally anyone but him and her own mother in there, the guy still doesn't get it. It's like some guys just have this delusional, riding through a meadow on a unicorn fairy tale idea of what childbirth is. The woman giving birth just instantly turns into some kind of non-human incubator in their minds. And the only thing that matters is cramming as many family members in as possible to see the baby emerge from her vagina. It's so freaking weird. Not the a-hole by a far. Sorry, but your husband is not the one laying naked on table, displaying his private parts for everyone to see. Birth is extremely graphic and vulnerable. This is solely up to you who is in the room, because while you are the one having a baby, let him be mad, and honestly, if I were you, if he continues to act like a man-child, I wouldn't let him in the room either. You need good vibes and support. It's not them in there just watching the show. They're there to support you. And please tell your nurses who is allowed. They will only let someone in with your permission. The husband quite literally has no say in the birthing process, and your nurse will gladly remind him. Ask your husband how he would feel if he had to strip naked and take a poop and have your dad watch it come out. Maybe that'll give him some perspective.
Well, there is the compromise. Tell dumb hubby ML can watch as long as he's laying in a delivery table in the room next spread eagle like she has 2B. Maybe then his dumbass will understand. Exactly this. Dudes that do this stuff literally see the extremely traumatic medical event the medical patient is going through as some kind of spectator sport. For example, if the woman giving birth wants her own mother there, it's not so mom can watch the baby be born. It's so the medical patient can have the support of her mother while experiencing multi-hours long excruciating pain while she's naked from the waist down and trying to shove the watermelon thing out of her vagina. This is not for people to watch. She's not putting on a show. She is a medical patient going through an extremely traumatic medical event. The fact that anyone else thinks they get a say in who is in the room for that is incomprehensible to me.
Not the a-hole, and I really don't understand all these posts about people in the delivery room. Birth is not a spectator sport. It might be his baby, but it's your body. When he can push out a kid, he can have his mommy there. Make sure you tell the nurses you don't want her there, and they'll eject her when she tries to stay, or he tries to sneak her in. Edit. Thank you for the award. My first one.
This. When he births a tiny human out from his nether regions, he can have whomever he would like present. Hell, he can do a live stream if he wants. OP's body, OP's say. Period. If he keeps this up, he is going to find himself waiting in the waiting room with his mother. He needs to grow up. There should only be one baby in this family, and said baby is still in the womb. Not the a-hole. Now it is time to be blunt and rude. No, husband, your mother will not be watching a baby come out of my vagina under any circumstances. You may have helped make this baby, but this is my body and you don't get a say. You can fall in line, or you can wait outside with your mother. When it's time for labor and delivery, you tell your mother, your sister, and your nurses who is allowed to be in the room and who isn't. What a fucking dumb, weird request. I cannot imagine in a million years my mother even wanting to watch my wife give birth. Just totally inappropriate.
Make him read the lemon clot essay and ask him if he's willing to lay back and spread eagle take a shit in front of your father in stirrups so the shit just pools between his legs. He is also not allowed to wipe himself. The nurses/doctor attending must wipe his shit for him in front of his father-in-law. Your medical procedure is first. It happens before baby is born screaming into the world. God's willing. We love good healthy lungs. While you're pushing said baby the size of a watermelon out of a grapefruit-sized hole, generous, or, heaven forbid, have an emergency C-section in which they are going to scalpel you open even if you didn't have an epidural. Like, not just no but go fuck himself, and if he cares so much he can wait in the waiting room with mommy, and you can serve him divorce papers where you know where he is. Because if he doesn't choose his wife during her childbirth medical life event, he will never choose you over her. Ever. This is the time to evaluate if you have a partner, or if he's already trapped up in an enmeshed relationship. Couples therapy is more imperative now than before being married.
I'm going to be a grandmother for the first time this year. Am I excited? I'm over the moon. Would I love to see that little baby come into the world? Absolutely. But I know my daughter-in-law and son most likely want that moment to themselves, so I won't even ask. That baby will be just as beautiful when the new mommy has had some time to get herself settled.
You are giving birth. You are in the most vulnerable position. It's about you. Father of baby is there to support you while you give birth. Hell, you don't even have to have him in there if you didn't want to, because it's about the woman giving birth. It becomes about the baby after. It's about you, not your husband, not your in-laws, but you are giving birth. You do what is most comfortable for you. Everyone can visit after.
It's only my fucking vagina though. She's free to see the baby after I'm done breaking in half to give birth. And if you say one more fucking word about it, you won't be there either. Practice your crazy eyes before you do this for maximum effect.
Having 4 people in the room is a huge distraction. You know they will be talking with each other, or trying to talk to the birthing mom. It's called labor for a reason. It requires focus. Why the hell are they there? What will they contribute? Nothing. Medical people need space to help her. She will have monitors for her and the baby. The labor and delivery could take hours. Her husband is worse than clueless, and I don't think Opie gets it all, either. She is not the a-hole for determining who's there. She should restrict it to one person. Her husband? They are the family now. What will this circus do? Have discussions about it afterward. As others have said, it is not a spectator sport. I hope Opie will come back after it's all done and tells us how it went. I'm a man and a dad. My wife and I have 2 kids, so far. It's always been 100% my wife's decision who's in the room, because even though they're my children too, it's her vagina and butthole that gonna have fluids and goops coming out on display during the whole process, her excruciating pain and uninhibited expression thereof, her moment, potentially several hours, to get through. So it's up to her who gets to be there to witness all of it. Do this. Make your husband a delicious meal, then ask him several hours later to get naked from the waist down. Lay down on his back, spread his legs wide apart in stirrups, then pee and poop out everything he's got while wearing one of those birth simulator pads on his abdomen, put up to the highest setting. You tell him who you'd like to have in the room for that moment of his, and let him see how he feels about that. After all, you helped him make what's coming out of him, so you totally get to decide who's there for it. Not the a-hole.
I will say this every time. Do not let him shame or bully you into this. Enlist the nurses if you must. I was not vocal, and I did allow my husband to shame me into letting my ML in the room while I labored, and I am 100% convinced that this is the reason that I was not able to progress in my labor. Then my baby started to have decels from the stalled labor, and I ended up having an emergency C-section under general anesthesia. BC, my epidural had worn off by then. I missed the beginning of my baby's life. BC, I didn't advocate for myself. I am begging you, please don't make the same mistake I did. Please stand strong and don't let anyone bully you into what they want. This is one of the biggest regrets of my entire life. What is this nonsense with spectators in the delivery room? My wife and I were the only ones there other than the doctor and the nurses, and we certainly wouldn't have wanted any other family or friends in the room. I know this was decades ago, but I have a hard time believing it's changed that much. I called our parents after the kids were born. My wife was exhausted and in no mood to chat. We had visitors the next day. Not the a-hole. Until the day he can strip completely naked and open his legs for your parents for hours/days, then no, his mom can't be there. I will never understand these posts and the men who have the entitlement to get upset over being told no. It's a medical procedure, not a group activity. Edit. Spelling. Dear Lord, all these dads go into birth thinking they're going to need a ton of support. He has like 3 jobs: get you ice chips, massage what needs massaging, and advocate for your wishes. His mom doesn't need to be there for that. If he needs her there for him to complete those 3 simple tasks, then he doesn't need to be there at all.
I remember seeing a TikTok or IG reel or something a couple years ago, where some guy, and I'm sure you can guess every demographic he belongs to, made a video about how offended he was to be basically ignored by the medical staff while his wife was giving birth. No one offered to get him any refreshments or a pillow to lay down at night or anything. It was quite possibly the least self-aware thing I have ever seen. I couldn't believe it. I was like, you are literally irrelevant to this process. Imagine thinking that the medical staff should take a break from caring for the actual medical patient to massage the ego of the irrelevant person in the room. Here's a novel idea. How about just you and your husband be in the room during your delivery? Take a whole day with no visitors to bond with your child once born. Let them visit once you are home. A welcoming party for new baby with closest family. Births are supposed to be special, and these days everyone seems to make it like there should be a damn party in the delivery room. This will eliminate all the BS about who can and cannot come in the room. Just a thought.
Coming from the paternal ML perspective, I would absolutely not expect to be in the room. If my son wants me nearby for his support, I will sit in the hallway so he knows I am near. If his wife doesn't want me in the room, then I am not in the room. Your husband is right. It's his baby too. And yes, paternal family members tend to miss out on a lot, but giving birth is totally different. Once baby is here, then I believe mom and dad should get equal say on the child rearing. But the actual act of giving birth is, in my humble opinion, about mom. Good luck to you. Congratulations.
Not the a-hole. Is your husband willing to invite your father to watch while your husband has a colonoscopy? How about while he has a catheter inserted into his penis? You are having a medical procedure. Yes, it is an emotional and momentous occasion, but it's still a medical procedure, and you're the patient. That means you are the only one who gets to decide who gets to be in the room. Your husband needs to respect the fact that his mother is the one who is ultimately responsible for not being allowed in. Had she been loving and supportive to you, you might have been willing to allow her to witness her grandchild's birth. Her choice to shame and judge you cost her the opportunity, and your husband doesn't get to be pissed off at you for that. He can be pissed at his mom for treating his wife and the mother of his child disrespectfully, and he can be pissed off at himself for not stopping her. Tell your husband all of this and tell the nurses who is and who is not allowed in the room. They will ensure your wishes are respected, even if your husband refuses to. Speaking as a man, your husband is a wimpy mama's boy who has his head up his own ass. A real man will choose his wife over his mother and would stand up to his mother in defense of his wife. A real man won't allow his mother to mistreat his wife in any way, ever. Your husband needs to extract his head from his butt, grow a pair of balls, and back you up like a real man. You will be the patient. The hospital will only admit people you approve, and they will have anyone you don't want escorted out, even your husband. If he can't handle that only people you choose will be present, then tell him he won't be there either.